Have you ever wondered what if José Arredondo had actually modded Eddie Van Halen's famous Marshall amp? I think if he had, it would have sounded something like this. Now that's pretty freaking awesome, right? Howdy everybody, welcome back to my channel, and if you're joining us for the first time, then welcome. It is awesome to have you here. If you caught my recent Brown Sound video where I showed you how to dial in Eddie's classic Marshall tone, think of this as what might have been the next chapter in the story. What could have happened if that already incredible tone got the legendary Jóse treatment? So I know there has been a huge, literally a huge amount of debate as to whether legendary LA amp tech José Arredondo added any of his wizardry to Eddie Van Halen's mythical 1967-1968 Marshall Super Lead Plexi. Did Jóse actually do any mods? Well, despite rumors that he had when the amp was given the once-over by various techs in the early 2000s, alas, it was found to be pretty much stock and hadn't been molested. I know, right? This just added to the mystery about how he got that sound and how he managed to squeeze so much gain out of an amp that, to be honest, doesn't actually have a great deal of overdrive. Well, compared to modern amps anyhow. You see, back in the late 1960s, the Plexi certainly was a high gain beast of an amp, but it wasn't like a Soldano or a PV5150, and certainly nowhere near an EVH5153. But what if history had told a different story and Jóse had actually added that extra gain stage and his clipping diode mod to Ed's amp? What might the amp have sounded like? This is literally the alternate reality EVH timeline that tone chasers have debated for decades. The what if scenario that could have changed rock guitar history if Eddie had given Jóse free rein with his Marshall. Well, that's what we're here to find out today. This is my beloved custom JP69 Plexi amplifier. I built this from a kit by Modulus Amps back in 2021, and it's been an astonishingly good amplifier to play and record with. I would go as far as saying that it is one of the best amps I have ever played and obviously owned. But I have always wanted to add that Jóse clipping switch mod to this amplifier. It was just something that I wanted to have as an option of using because, after all, I'm a high gain kind of guy. For those wondering what the mod actually does to your tone, it adds an extra layer of saturation and compression that gives you a little bit more sustain, a tighter palm mute, and smoother lead playing without losing that essential Plexi character. It's kind of like having a built-in very low gain overdrive pedal that just gives you a little bit more zhuzh and a little bit more oomph. Yeah. That's the best way to put it. Now I managed to figure out the extra gain stage with this amazing Blackstar Depth 10 pedal, which actually has a tube in it. It's an extra preamp gain stage, and it's actually more convenient than a built-in extra preamp tube inside the amp because I can switch it on and off while I'm playing. That's pretty damn cool. The other mod which I have wanted to add since I built the amplifier was the clipping diode switch, and I even drilled a hole in the amplifier to cater for this when I built it back in 21. However, despite trying a few recipes out, I just couldn't cook up something that worked. To my utter frustration, I should add. That's until now. A few weeks ago, I finally added this switch, and you know what? It works! Woohoo! It is a Jóse style clipping diode and transistor network, and today I'm going to walk you through how I actually did it. So let's head over to my Mac and I'll show you the schematic, and then I'll show you how I installed it inside this amplifier. Alrighty, here we are with the schematic. I found this schematic while going through some of the online forums searching for the details about the Jóse mods, and it showed this network which I have outlined in red. I don't recall which forum it was, to be honest. I just found it and I downloaded it. I'm glad I did. This is a clipping network that I hadn't tried previously, and on this schematic it actually shows the pre-tone stack master volume that Jose also installed on some amps. I didn't need that on my amp as it's a Studio Queen and it runs at full pelt through a load box when I record, so I just installed the clipping mod. Essentially the mod is pretty simple. The diode and transistor network sits between pin number 8 on tube number 2 and the tone stack, which starts here. Essentially the amplified signal comes out of here, which is pin number 8, goes through this resistor here, which is a 10k resistor, then a 22 nanofarad coupling cap, and then onto the tone stack here. And this basically kind of bypasses it here. And then the clipping network is activated via a switch right in the middle. So when the switch is actually in the middle position here, where it says S, nothing happens. It basically just goes straight through. The signal goes straight through to the tone stack. It doesn't do anything. But then when you flick the switch to position number 1, it connects these Zener diodes, which are 20 volt Zener diodes, to ground. That's what creates the extra overdrive. And on the other side, it basically grounds these two transistors. So it gives you a different flavor of overdrive. And it really is that simple. And they both sound a little bit different from each other. So the Zener diodes sound a little bit brighter and a little bit more spiky and really tighten up the signal. Whereas the transistors, they actually add a fatness to the sound. So let's say you're using a Strat and you want that extra push, you can switch over to the transistors and those single coils will fatten up a little bit. It's fantastic to have both in the amplifier. It's a very, very elegant solution. Let me show you how I actually installed it inside my amplifier. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more amp mod videos, then make sure that you smash that subscribe button and hit the bell notification as well, because I will have more videos like this coming up and I would not want you to miss them. Thanks so much. Now, if you're not familiar with how diodes work, think of them like a one-way valve for your guitar signal. Normal sound waves have both a positive and a negative peak, like hills and valleys, so they go up and down like this. The diodes act like height limiters that let your signal through but then clip off anything above a certain volume, kind of like putting a ceiling and a floor on your sound waves. This is what creates that smooth, compressed overdrive tone. Different diode values are like setting a different height limits and therefore overdrive limits. Higher voltages clip less, whereas lower voltages will clip a little bit more. Hence we call them clipping networks. Higher voltage diodes clip less of your signal, keeping more of your dynamics intact, whereas lower value diodes will clip more of them and they'll compress a little bit more, they'll sound a little bit different. So it's about finding the happy medium which works in your amplifier. Now you can experiment with the diode values. I have a symmetrical network with two 20 volt Zeners, but you can try asymmetrical networks as well, where you have one 20 volt Zener and maybe a 5 volt Zener in combination with each other. Each sound a little bit different. The best way I can describe this, and the easiest way for probably you to understand, is think Tube Screamer versus Boss SD1. Now the Tube Screamer is actually symmetrical clipping, so it sounds quite smooth, whereas the Boss SD1 is asymmetrical clipping, so it has a little bit more spike and pep. So that's the difference you'll get. You can experiment with the values and see what you like in your amplifier. Alrighty, I'm inside my amp here and I'm going to show you how I did all of the mods to my amplifier. First of all, this Jose clipping switch, which is very, very, very cool. So usually what happens is pin number 8 on this second tube here connects directly to the input of the tone stack. So the bass, middle, treble, and the whole network of capacitors and resistors which actually feed the tone stack here. I have a switch for the tone stack. I have a switchable tone stack, so this little network you see here is actually a switchable tone stack between 3 different styles of plexi, so it makes this amp really, really flexible in terms of tone. So how this works is it actually sits in between pin number 8 and the beginning of the tone stack. So you'll see that there's a resistor down here connected directly to here, which is this yellow wire going to pin number 8 on the second tube. So it's a 10K resistor, and then that connects up to this 220 nanofarad capacitor here. That capacitor goes to the middle connector on this switch. So the middle position is off. Now the thing is, this blue wire is actually connected to the middle position as well, and this is the return wire. So when the switch is off, all that's happening is it's going through this little network, this 10K resistor, the 220 nanofarad capacitor, down this red wire, connecting up to here, which connects up to this blue wire, then it comes all the way back and basically just goes into the tone stack. So it does nothing apart from adds this resistor and capacitor in between to take the voltage off there so that you don't electrocute yourself and stuff like that. Now the magic happens here. When I actually flick the switch, what it does is it activates either some Zener diodes, which are on the bottom lug here, or transistors, which are on the top lug here, and it just grounds them. So it just adds this to this connection here. This connection never changes. The red and blue wire here, it never changes. All that happens is it just adds these to that signal. So it sends these to ground. And I just took a ground reference here, which is on my volume 2. And it was just a convenient place to put a ground wire there. So that's how that works. And it sounds great. I love the sound, especially of the Zener diodes. When you set up the diodes or the transistors, you have to make sure that they are opposing each other. So the black stripes on the diodes either have to be facing each other or they have to be facing away from each other. If they're going in the same direction, then they will not clip. I connected my diodes facing away from each other, and as you can see, the transistors are in opposing directions as well. I did this by making sure that the curved sides were facing away from each other. And that's it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I have been chasing this for some time now, and the mods that I had tried just did not work. And I was pretty disappointed each time that I installed something and then I tried it and it just didn't do what it was supposed to. But this time everything was just zen, and when I flicked the switch, there was that extra push and gain. Yeah! Let me show you how each side sounds. I'll demonstrate all three positions playing the exact same riff so that you can hear the differences. Hear how each one adds its own flavor to the tone? The stock position has that classic Plexi thing going on. The Zeners add a tighter, more focused distortion, and the transistors, they give a fuller, fatter sound. Can you imagine the possibilities of what Eddie might have been able to do in that alternate universe? That would have been pretty freaking insane, right? Okie dokie folks, I hope you found that helpful. I have attached a link to the schematic in the video description if you want to try it out for yourself. When working on tube amps, remember safety first, as there are high voltages which live inside tube amps. So know what you're doing or have an amp tech do the work for you. I would love to know which sound you liked the most, the Zeners, the transistors, or just the stock amp. Leave a comment and let me know. I would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this one, then you know what to do. Subscribe, like, and share with your tech head friends as well. Okay, it is time to really see what it would have been like if Eddie had Jose modded his Marshall. So on this one, I tried to channel some of that Edward Van Halen magic to take you back to a past and an alternate universe where Eddie said to Jose, "Go ahead, man, hot rod my Marshall." I used my signature JVH impulse response on the tracks for that Van Halen inspired tone, and if you would like it, head over to this link up here where you can grab it for just $3. Enjoy the track and see you soon with another video. Have an awesome day. I'm gonna go and rock out some more Eddie Van Halen inspired licks. Bye for now.